This is going to be somewhat of a short video. Not going to go into great detail about this. We're going to show where three things at this point, really four things, are going to interrelate. Okay? First one will be this picture here. I've already talked about it a little bit. Depiction, the ancient god Saturn. Right? As I said, we're really understanding what all this really means, what it's hiding. Comes into this connection of the flip of the script, or the switch of the flip. You know, what was up will become down, what was down will become up. Somebody's got a plan for diverting the guilty onto someone else. The guilty as charged is going to be shifted, and the help of the mirror is doing that. The mirror is shifting the identity from one descendancy to the next, if you will, in relationship to these peculiar brothers, right? Well, the connection for this flip of the script is staring you right here in the face with this imagery. And it's going to be linked up to this imagery right here. Now let me show you this side of the bottle as well. Let's take a good look here at this telephone. Old-timey telephone receiver, the earpiece, the mouthpiece. Notice what Al is listening real close to this particular telephone that seems to be revealing everything about this 23 Enigma. In other words, the Holy Grail Cup. Particular Al's are real interested in what information is coming through somebody's particular telephone, if you will. Seems like they've got a plan. They've got some sort of plan worked out for this individual. Well, this individual's got a plan as well. If we look here to the other side of the bottle, this is what's going to link up with this image here. This character here, with his little wing, his little body, and this very peculiar scratching of his own leg. Not just his leg, but his thigh. Okay? Let's take a good look at something that you guys are already super familiar with, but maybe not in this light as it's beginning to fulfill. We've always, at least in my opinion, I've always made the association with this stone statue that has suffered some sort of destruction in semblance of a lion. And it almost looks like a stone statue of a lion with its head removed, decapitated. Now, if you were to look at the suggestive symbolism here with this egg, you know they're trying to break a seal in reference to an egg, or cracking this egg, which someone has been hermetically sealed within it. Well, the symbolism here, the serpent, the dragon, the Mushushu dragon, reference with Marduk, further reference with Enki. And as you should understand with Utu Shemesh, Marduk, Enki being depicted here, offering that right to rule, the rod of iron in connection with the Shin ring, passing off the kingship from the deity on high to the kingdoms of men. Because they knew they were going to be sealed. As you saw in the book of Enoch, they were already allowing for that. They knew that the choice that they were about to take was going to result in something very calamitous for them. And in other words, they supposedly were prepared to go through with it and suffer the recompense of it. And then the living descendancy was to seek to undo that recompense of it. And then as we see, the projected breaking of the seal would be sevenfold times 70 generations, which we really know 70 generations is times 72, roughly a little over 5,000 years, times sevenfold, about 37,000 years, basically, for the sealing period, which now we can see is intra-relative with the gestation period for a certain being that, or even an entire faction of beings, if you will, symbolically, that have been held within a hermetic seal, which is what the egg symbolism conveys. My point here is that if you notice the elliptical shape of the egg, which they would pass off to you as the orbit of Nibiru, but you would be blind if you were to just think that it stopped there, that it's really hiding a deeper, much deeper meaning, an event that's interrelative with this orbit or the breaking of this egg up against something, two portions of something. One of it so happens to have its entire head, its Godhead, removed, which would be Jesus Christ in representation of the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, right? So this is what becomes important here, to really see where this symbol here is going to link us up to a connection that they are hoping to imply sooner or later here. And then we will see that that very same connection is being implied here with the plan. It all has everything to do with the thigh. The thigh. And we're going to give you the biblical reference from which it's derived. Notice that it would have to be an angelic form, but doesn't mean it's an angel. It just means it's implying the symbolism, in my opinion, of fallen angel, in which we would have to reference the sons of Sam, further back to Sam Yeza, who you should know is in reference to Satan. Now, we see our esoteric, heavily coded symbolism of this supposed ancient god of agriculture and death, Saturn. Even reference to the connection of time, which I told you is in reference to the gestation period or the seal, which is sevenfold times 70 generations, roughly 37,000 years. Let's take a good look at this guy's leg here. It's pretty anomalous, is it not? It's a wound right there, just above the knee, the lower portion of the quadricep, the thigh. There's definitely more with that symbolism than I myself personally understand. No worry. It all builds upon itself. I must first understand this portion. As you see, we are beginning to show the understanding and the connections. Because take a good look here now. It's the exact same placement of the thigh that this individual is purposely wounding. Purposely wounding himself. Let's think about the self-exposure that's going on within Freemasonry, where so many people that are suspected of being even Masons themselves, at least in my opinion, are exposing Freemasonry, but they're not exposing it truthfully. They're spinning this thing off into a direction that is not the true exposure of Freemasonry, in which this channel, it definitely is giving you the full connections of where they originate, at least ideologically, and then where this ideological theology is bringing them in reference to the fulfillment, at least their plan fulfillment of prophecy. All right? That's the real expose that's going on here, not the diversion of the expose that they're giving you. And then this is the self-wounding of themselves in which you see. But the self-wounding of themselves, as I'm beginning to understand, is what the switcheroo is about. And this is where they're trying to pass off the descendancy of who? The descendancy of Cain. They're trying to pass off the descendancy on to someone else, when in all actuality, it's they themselves. And you're going to understand that better when we look into the Bible and find out where this connection is being made. But at this point, let's just make a note that we see that this fallen angel character, who I'm telling you now is in reference to a faction connected heavily to Satan, the deceiver, in reference to the serpent, connected to the fallen prince of this world. And now you see the very same wound on the thigh. Now let's take a note that this individual is walking on a crutch. That's a crutch, guys. Same little thing right up under his shoulder. He's limping. He's wounded. These are bandages. And we see that the main wound, puncture wound, penetration wound at the top of the thigh, in which the crutch is being needed for. Well, is not Cain a symbolism for a crutch? Because a person that walks with a limp is walking with a cane. And that would be esoteric symbolism for the descendancy of Cain, the beings that are being used in symbolism of walking with a cane. And you're beginning to understand. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this very peculiar wounded thigh. There's a leg. A wounded leg underneath the symbolism of a lion. and I've got somebody at my door here, so I'm going to have to return. But when I do, we're going to show you this little excerpt here from the Biblical Dictionary, all about Lamech, and it's going to make some serious sense. I'll be back.